We're fighting the Gravios, we're getting knocked around, and the dude's like, stop being so mean. So as a joke, I say, yo, us fighting this Gravios like a 6'3" person trying to fight a 7 foot tall nigga, man. And he was just like, nah, bro, the only reason the hunters can fight. No, no, he's like, you think this thing's 7 foot tall? And I'm like, okay, so you misunderstood what I said. I didn't say that. I just gave a different perspective. I said to the hunters, a monster 2 times a hunter's height is light work. But if its leg is like 4 times your height,
Let's take a
that
quick break.
motherfucker's big. And that's the same thing for a 6'3" person. Like I fought a nigga who was 6'5" or
Always
one.
happy to take your
If a
place.
nigga's 6'5", I'm like, damn, that nigga's big. But like, he's not too big. Like he's just big. I can take that. But if I were to try and fight a 7 foot tall person, I'd be like, that nigga's enormous, right?
Always happy
That's what
to
we're
take
like
your
against
place.
the Gravios. So he goes to say that the only reason us hunters can do stuff like that is because we're the main character. Which I argue against by saying Olivia when it gets the Utduna. If the Utduna is just as large as the Gravios, if not bigger, and is stronger since it's a higher threat level. And Olivia, literally in a cutscene, it jumped up into the sky, tried to belly flop her, and she hit it out the way. And he was just like, I knew you were gonna say that. Now look, look. Her life is still hanging in the balance against the Fatalis. And I'm just like, okay. And he's like, the Fatalis literally burns monsters into its own body. It burns it into its own body. Like, if she were to fight that thing, she would die. I'm just like, so would we. And he's like, nah, because we beat the Fatalis. So,
Always happy to
he
take your
makes the
place.
argument that the Fatalis is the 7 foot tall person in the scenario, and that the 6'3" person is the Gravios? So, what sense does that make? I say we're the 6'3" person fighting a 7 foot person. The hunter is 6'3", so why is the Gravios now 6'3"? So basically, let me explain to you. He turned my comparison into a tier list, a echelon of sorts, and he put the Fatalis on top, and the Gravios in the middle, and the hunter, because there's no place for it to be, just he said, and we're just all the way at the bottom, like we're shit, we're tiny, we're nothing in comparison. I'm just like, the reason there's no bottom tier is because it was never a tier list, nigga. It was a comparison of what our
What you think
situation
we'll
was like to
find?
that. So when he added Fatalis, I gave the actual real world situation, which would be one world champion sumo wrestler who's 6'5" versus like 2 5'5" men with knives, by the way, so that they can actually kill it. Because the knives are the only thing separating the guy from just crushing both of their skulls at the same time. The only thing separating us as the hunter from Fatalis' death were the shields that the old nation had burned to
Always
the
happy
ash.
to take
They
your
had burned to
place.
ash in one day. Yeah, those are the only things protecting us. We hid behind the shields when it did its fire breath, and then we put up the wall as our last line of defense, and then we killed it. We jumped it with our knives. So, yeah, that's the more realistic situation. Originally, I said, dude, that's like a normal person fighting like a 20 foot tall person, or like fighting a building or tornado, like a natural disaster. So I'm like, the Chalice is crazy in turns. Like, you can't just put. He's saying you're changing what you're saying. And I'm like, I'm not changing what I'm saying. You didn't understand what I said. Like, and as I'm trying to explain to him, I'm going back and replaying it. I'm like, nigga, I said that us fighting the Gravios is like it's like a 6'3" person, us, fighting a 7 foot tall person. And as I'm like going back and saying when I'm saying what it means, he just leaves. It's just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Yeah, I'm not arguing with this, bruh. Bruh, are you still on that? There's no way you were still talking about this. Nah, man, you're being stupid. This is ridiculous. It's like, how? You misunderstood what I said, claimed I changed the subject, like, claimed that I changed what I said when you're the one who changed it. Proof and point, I gave an example of the situation, and it's suddenly a tier list now. And I know why he went to the tier list. It's because I started comparing hunters and what a monster's size was to that size.
A potential target
Like
is
to the
appearing.
end of to the
Check
like
your
the
map when you're
difficulty
ready.
of it. I was like, if it's twice the size, it's easy. 4 times the size, it's hard. So he got that and started making it more of a tier list by saying, okay, well for Talus, it's just stronger than all that, and Olivia would die. And I'm just like, that's for Talus, and so he puts him on the tier list. That's where he got that from. And I'm like, nigga, I understand what you're saying. You just gotta understand that that's not what I was saying, which is why it doesn't make sense. And so while I'm trying to explain it to him, he just leaves like a bitch.
Can't forget supplies.
That's some
I'm
childish
gonna take a
shit.
cat
You
nap.
can't admit that you're wrong about something, so you just leave. So don't argue with me no more. I mean, the next time he does, or if anyone else asks me about it, why I'm not talking to that nigga, it's just gonna be like a. If I were to explain the situation in a nutshell, I would say like, damn, this PlayStation 5 controller in my hand is just like the Xbox 360 controller, but like with more modifications and stuff. And he would say some dumb shit like, okay, but the Nintendo Switch controller is better because it has a screen on it. And I'm like, the Nintendo Switch is a whole console. You can't really compare it to that. And he's just like, nah, based off what you're saying, not what I'm saying, the Nintendo Switch would be number one, and the PlayStation controller, because it has modifications, would be number two. And the Xbox controller would, well, it's not even on there. It's just all the way at the bottom because it's the shit in comparison. And it's just like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that had nothing to do with anything. I was just saying. Like, you see, like, does that put it into perspective? Like, I'm not crazy, right? Like, I want to just move past that, but it's just like, if I try, it's gonna be like well, he's gonna think that I'm wrong still and that he's crazy. And I'll never be able to explain that to him because if I do, then I'm being difficult, right? So I just have to sit there around a nigga who thinks I'm crazy, even though I know I'm not, and I can prove why I'm not. But I can't because they'll either stop talking to you completely, or they'll just like leave again like a bitch, or be weird about it. So it's just like, do I even want to be?
Endemic life is part of a hunter's duty, you know?
It's just like, do I even want to be chill with a nigga like that? Because it's gonna bother me every single time. So I was just like, yeah, that's what I would say. I
Always
gave an example of a situation, and you somehow misinterpreted what I said, or you didn't understand it. So I tried to put it into perspective. You misinterpreted it, and you made an argument that had nothing to do with what I said. And so I'm just not doing this shit with you again. I'll just be honest. So yeah, this shit was ass. Shit sucked. Yeah. So, nah, I guess I can just forgive him. But like, if he ever tries to like argue with me again, I'm just gonna hit him with the last time I tried to have a discussion or argument, or the last time I explained myself, I'm not explaining myself or the way I think to you anymore. Because when I tried, yeah, because last time when I tried, you just sort of, you left. You misinterpreted what I said. And then,
I think these might be tracks.
tried to act like I was changing some sort of narrative on you. When, case in point, you did when you made it a theory.